I'm getting paid to go out and fly a really cool airplane, and then I get to teach this student how to fly a really cool airplane as well. And it really is an exciting, awesome job.
I think we have a fantastic instructor corps here, and it's made up of really the best of the best that the nations can provide. And when I think of these NATO countries and how important it is to many of them to develop strong ties with the United States, they're picking their high potential officers from the get-go.
The working hours that actually the line IPs go through, it's pretty extensive. I mean, we're talking about an average of about 10 hours, maybe sometimes even more, and that's also for the students.
The instructors that I look up to the most they carry traits that I would hope to embody myself someday. That willingness to teach, the enthusiasm that they bring each and every single day. That says a lot about a person when they can do their job with enthusiasm, as well as just being encouraging to others, whether they know it or not.
For every instructor pilot at ENJJPT, there's a different reason for enjoying the assignment.
Being an instructor pilot here in ENJJPT, I like the international community, of course, the opportunity to fly with all different countries, as well with training our own students, our own Dutch students, to become fighter pilots in the near future.
What I enjoy about being IP is you get these guys in, you're flying with them initially, and they're throwing up, they get airsick, they can't point the plane in the right direction at all, and eventually by the end of the program you're flying formation with them. And I really enjoy that, to see them transition from this puking student to someone who can actually fly on my wing and not scare me most of the time.
The greatest satisfaction comes from watching that light bulb turn on over the students' heads whenever they're practicing something over and over again, and then finally they get it.
Working in a multinational environment can present unique communication issues.
There are definitely language barriers, not only on the ground, every day, but also in the air, which is kind of the more difficult time to have those arise.
And you really have to be careful not to use a lot of American slang, because sometimes you'll say something, some kind of phrase or something that normally an American student would understand what you're saying, but an international may have no idea what you're talking about.
When I very first started, I remember when we did the first briefing in G-Fly, and the AP were talking, and I had to pay really attention to what they were saying to understand and get all the message. Right now, I mean, for me, I don't have to think about what they are saying, and sometimes I'm thinking English, so sometimes I have problem to speak Italian. I mean.
After the flight, we always debrief about the language problems. I said you this, but you understood in the wrong way. And we always get the lesson learned in order not to do it again for both the IPs and the student pilots.
The willingness to communicate, I think that overcomes a lot of any language difficulties that may be present there. Me personally, I've never had a problem. I have flown with Italian and German instructors. They're a lot of fun to fly with. They just have a different perspective that us as Americans may not be used to seeing.
Being an instructor pilot sometimes means revealing hard truths to the students.
In the beginning, when they're brand new, they don't even know how close to death they are half the time. They'll do something, and they think that it was actually good, and then in the debrief you have to say, well, you almost killed us, actually. So this is why we need to talk about this.
As a student, you're always kind of nervous about that next sortie. You're always kind of wondering, what are the real expectations? What do I really need to know? What do I really need to do? And it's hard to have a judgment of what you need to know when you don't have experience to back that up.
The longer I fly, the more I anticipate the mistakes that they're going to make, because all the students make pretty much the same mistakes. So after a few classes, you start to see the mistakes developing, and it's almost like you can just sit in the back seat, watch their helmets, and see when they're about to make a mistake. And so I'll see the mistake developing, almost see what they're thinking, and the whole time I just want to either say something or fix it, and sometimes you have to just let them make the mistake.
You start out flying with them, and of course you're not going to do everything perfect, and then Once they get into their way of doing things and showing you how to do certain maneuvers, or just hearing them when they talk in a brief or a debrief, and knowing and understanding how much knowledge they have and how little you have, it's kind of a shocking factor.
The experience of training the next generation of NATO air warriors is a labor of love and dedication.
I absolutely love my job here. I love what I do. I love being able to work with the students every day and teach, which is kind of the thing I'm really passionate about, so I haven't regretted a day of it.
It's an incredible experience working with the students, being able to mold the next generation of fighter pilots, not just for the United States, but for our NATO allies as well.
There's two things I love doing, and that's teaching and flying, and this is the perfect job to be able to do both of those. I can't imagine doing anything else.
On the next episode of Experience ENJJPT, Class 1407 transitions to Phase 3, the T-38.
Name, rank, call sign, squadron, duty type.
Okay, I'm Captain Ryle Meyer. I go by Lupus. I'm in the 469 Flying Training Squadron, and I'm the M Flight Commander, also known as the Godfather for mob flight.
Why is that? What's the history behind the Godfather? I mean, are you specifically the Godfather?
It's just a term they use for the mob flight commander, or M Flight, as they call it.
So. Are you married?
I am married.
Does your wife have to call you the Godfather at home?
No, she does not. She's got a lot of other choice names for me.